So I'm going to get out of here in a second to go get tattooed for the next 3 days and make very bad decisions. And frankly, I'm quite excited to do that. But I'll tell you one thing. One person who made a bunch of bad decisions to where they're probably not that excited, and that's D4vd. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, David. Before I get up out of here, I just want to drop a quick video because there is a major update for Mr. David, man. The singer David, whose stream numbers have skyrocketed, by the way, ever since this case started, which is, I find, a bit odd. But anyways, I told you guys, man, I've been saying this for a while. The medical examiner is unable to figure out what happened to Celeste. So I came forward with a video a few weeks ago, and I was saying how D4vd, or David, is no longer viewed as a suspect. That's what was released by the news spokesperson. But behind the scenes, the entire time, apparently the police have had him as suspect number one from the get-go. The only reason as to why they can't publicly move forward with it is because of the medical examiner. Now, we're gonna watch this video from TMZ and they're gonna break it down, but it is way more horrific than you guys thought. Remember, we even took it as far as saying that she may have died naturally, or you know, she may have just overdosed. Apparently, this girl was frozen, chopped up, decapitated. Listen, all types of shit, and all of this kind of ties back to David in the end of everything. So, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and check this out. Apparently, the smell that was coming from the Tesla in the parking lot when it got impounded was only because her body was partially thawed after being in the sun. So whenever whoever put her body there, the body wasn't there that long. It had already been frozen and chopped up. This shit reads off like a Dexter episode. But let's go ahead and check this out.
Major developments in the Celeste Rivas death. TMZ has learned that her body had been frozen, and when it was found, it was still partially frozen in the back of David's car, and it was in such bad condition that we are told the medical examiner may never be able to establish the cause of death. So here's what we know. When the body was found, it was in terrible condition. It had been decapitated, the torso was intact, the limbs had been removed, and they were cut up severely. The body was partially frozen in the trunk, and this is really important because remember, the body had been sitting there for days before it was finally impounded and then the body discovered.
Miss, she was cryo frozen. I'm talking, she was frozen in a deep freezer. Listen, it's a lot worse than we thought. And all those little skits that he would play, and you know, having dead girls in the trunk of the car, and all the music he would make about romantic homicide and shit. It seems as though, listen, someone with that type of a vibe or energy, I could believe would do something like this, or is capable of doing something like this. Because remember, like, killing somebody is one thing. You know, it might be personal on depending on how you did it, but the most personal thing is dismembering them. That has to be the most personal shit, and I don't think many people have the capacity just within themselves to do that. But I believe David probably could. This shit is crazy, bro. But let's continue. And remember, we already have odd footage of David being in odd areas, shoes having stains on them in the middle of the night. There's already breadcrumbs that I'm pretty sure the police know a lot more about.
And it was still, the body parts were still partially frozen. So we are told that when the body first went to the medical examiner's office in early September, it was listed as an apparent homicide, but that was just from what seemed obvious, that the body was cut up into pieces. The medical examiner is having a really tough time right now trying to figure out what the cause of death was. We are told it is likely the cause of death will go undetermined because of the condition of the body and the fact that it was frozen and the fact that it was cut up the way it was. So we have told you that we know David is a suspect, and even if it is undetermined, the LAPD can still move forward, as could the LA County District Attorney.
So apparently that was the problem. According to TMZ, and I believe 98% of what TMZ puts out. I don't know how they get their information, bro. They know everybody. They've heard everything. It's kind of spooky. But anyways, they had made a statement. They had made a claim that the relationship with the medical examiner and the LAPD is not the best, which therefore means if somebody at the medical examiner's office hates the chief or hates the detective or hates some detective and blah 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 blah, they will probably be more likely to drag their feet, which is not cool, but reality. Apparently, they don't see eye to eye, both offices. So when you have a high profile case, and I guess you have a lot of them in LA, the police can pretty much ask the medical examiners, hey, hurry the fuck up, because a lot of people want to know. This is a high profile case. What seems to be happening is medical examiners saw the body, saw the condition. They're like, we'll get to it when we get to it. We probably won't even figure it out. Go kick rocks. Which is kind of crazy to me. Now, there's still hope. It's been about 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, man. We're entering the time to where we're gonna get an undetermined response from them, but there's still a little bit of hope. Let's continue.
The LAPD is viewing this as a homicide. David is a suspect. We know this. And one of the keys to the case is a trip that authorities say David made in the middle of the night back in this spring to a remote area of Santa Barbara County. We are now also told that there is a second suspect, and our information is that the second suspect has something to do with the cutting up of the body. Now, Mark Garagos, who is my
co-host. See, I didn't know that. Maybe David didn't have the balls to do it. Maybe he had somebody else. And remember, this is all being corroborated with the private investigator. Private investigator, he made his money on already. He made his money from the millionaire at the mansion, and now he's going on a press tour. But everything he always says, there's another person who he knows already. He already knows who the person is who was driving that car around with the dead body. And listen, we were going with that theory that maybe there were people driving the car who just didn't know there was a dead body. That theory could be thrown the fuck away. Because if you have a frozen dead girl in the trunk, best believe people are going to know about it. Or you're not going to let people who don't know about it drive the car. You're just not going to let that happen. A frozen, decapitated dead girl in the back of your truck, and you just let Bobby go drive it to McDonald's? I doubt it.
On the Two Angry Men podcast, told us in the most recent podcast that his information is that this second suspect is being looked at not just for dismembering the body, but also for what happened before, during, and after Celeste's death. So there is a second suspect that the LAPD has its sights on. They have identified the person. Garriga says he knows who it is, not saying, but it is a second suspect implicated here. So obviously the question, how on earth did this body go from Santa Barbara, if that's indeed where it was taken? And that seems to be the operating theory of the LAPD. That if it...
My operating theory is that David killed her, freaked out, took her down there, right? And took her to a guy. And then the plan was to bring her back. Why did you bring her here? Let's figure this out in LA. That's what it seems like happened. David took her to the guy that he knew and is like, hey, help me. Help me. Don't worry, the family doesn't give a fuck about her. We just need to figure this out between me and you. That's what it seems like happened.
Santa Barbara, how did it end up back in Los Angeles in the trunk of David's car in a residential neighborhood? The only thing that makes sense, and that's months and months later, the only thing that makes sense is that based on connecting the dots, it would seem that this body was put in a freezer for an extended period of time, and it was so frozen that by the time it got in the car, it took a long, long time for it to unfreeze, and it had not fully unfrozen at the time the body was discovered at the impound lot. So again, it looks like there may never be a cause of death determined by the medical examiner. The body was frozen. Just keep looking at TMZ. We will have more updates as the days pass.
One thing that doesn't make sense to me is that apparently the car was parked somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be for a long period of time. Now, I don't know if that was a couple of days and the neighbors called, or if it was a couple of weeks, but it seemed to me in the initial reports that the car had been sitting there, supposedly with Celeste's body in it, for like weeks, for a long time. So that wouldn't support the theory that she was frozen in there. She would have had to have been added to that car 4 or 5 days out. No more, no less. Because, a solid frozen body, it might take a few days, but in this LA heat, it's cooling off right now, but it wasn't cool at the time. In this LA heat, man, I'll give it like 3 days, 2.5 days. So there's still some discrepancy, but the fact that she was chopped up and David's number one suspect, I think this case is about to move rapidly in the next couple of weeks. Trust me, y'all. It was the medical examiner that was holding this whole ball up. Once we get undetermined or homicide or anything she puts on it, it's either going to be homicide or undetermined. From there, they're going to move forward. And this case is going to stack real quick. That's why David has the Harvey Weinstein lady lawyer. He's getting prepared. But anyways, folks, I love you guys, man. I'm going to go get tatted for the next 3 fucking days. Wish me luck. I'm not really looking forward to it, but I am. You know what I mean? I'll see you later. Love you. Peace.